You know, when you buy a really complicated new piece of technology, like maybe one of those high-end espresso machines, or
Mm.
or like a totally absurd, complex smart home system.
Oh, yeah. The ones with a million different settings.
Exactly. You expect it to come with a manual,
Yep.
right? Like you don't just plug the espresso machine into the wall, sit down on your couch, stare at it, and, just hope it brews you a perfect latte
Right.
through sheer willpower.
Right. That's not how it works at all.
Now, you have to actually read the operating instructions.
Yeah.
You have to press specific buttons in a really specific sequence. There's a whole protocol you have to follow.
Yeah, there's an underlying mechanism there, a logic that has to be followed for the machine to actually execute the function it was engineered to do.
Right.
And if you ignore that sequence, I mean, you just have a really expensive countertop ornament.
You really do. And welcome to today's deep dive. We're basically applying that exact same mechanical logic to a topic that honestly usually gets treated as highly abstract.
Yeah, it's a completely different way of looking at it.
It is. Our source material today is this fascinating theological manuscript and book, and it's called Deploying Functional Faith.
Which is such a great title.
It really is.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening who, love to understand the underlying architecture of concepts, like how things actually work under the hood, this framework is going to be incredibly interesting to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this material, it doesn't treat faith as this passive, fuzzy feeling or like some abstract aura you just happen to possess.
Right, it's not just a vibe.
Exactly. It treats faith as a practical, functional mechanism. It literally outlines an operating manual for it.
And, the stakes presented in this framework are incredibly high, too.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Well, the core premise here is that a vast number of believers actually miss out on their intended inheritance.
Wow.
Yeah, meaning they miss out on the life, the peace, or, the breakthroughs they are supposedly promised. And it's simply because their faith remains in this dormant state.
So they have it, but it's just sitting there.
Exactly. They possess the capacity, but they refuse to follow the operating instructions.
Right.
And in the context of this specific architecture we're looking at, failing to follow the instructions basically means refusing to vocalize and refusing to physically act.
So what does this all mean? Like, how do we take a concept like faith, which mostly lives invisibly in human consciousness, right?
Right.
How do we turn it into something functional?
Right.
To explain the mechanics here, we really have to start with how this system is activated.
The activation phase is crucial.
It is. And the most accurate parallel I can draw from the source material is, well, it's basically like voice-activated software.
Oh, that analogy tracks perfectly with the logic in the manuscript.
Yeah, think about, like, the most powerful smart home system on the planet. The house is completely wired.
Every room.
Right? The lighting grid is connected, the climate control is all queued up, the security locks are automated, everything.
So the potential energy sitting in that house is just massive.
It's huge. But, if you just sit in your living room in total silence.
The house stays dark.
Exactly. That multi-million-dollar software literally does zero until you give it a verbal command. You have to open your mouth and speak the wake word.
Yeah.
And the framework we're analyzing today operates on that exact same principle. Faith is not silent. Faith speaks.
It does. And the author takes it a step further into causality, actually.
How so?
Well, the manuscript posits that within this theological system, quote, what you speak, God grants.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The argument is that the divine realm responds specifically and exclusively to words spoken in faith. It's a trigger mechanism.
Right, like flipping a switch.
Exactly. And the source material grounds this in specific historical scriptures. It pulls from 2 Corinthians, which explicitly states, we believe, therefore we speak.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it also references Isaiah 43.26, where the divine instruction is quite literally, put me in remembrance. Let us plead together.
Let us plead together. That's so active.
It is. So the entire architecture is basically built on a duality.
I want to pause there for a second. When you say duality, how exactly does the source define the two sides of that equation?
Yeah. So the mechanism works like this. Faith is first established internally, right, in the heart or the mind. But it is only released externally through words.
Oh, I see.
So the internal belief is your potential energy.
Yeah.
But the spoken word, that's the kinetic energy.
The movement.
Right. Your justification or your alignment with the divine is directly catalyzed by your speaking.
So you can't just think it.
No. According to this framework, the definitive proof that you truly believe something is actually found in your confession.
Wow.
If a person claims to deeply believe a divine promise but, remains entirely quiet about it, this system actually questions whether the belief exists at all.
Which brings up a term from the manuscript that I found just incredibly striking, kaza.
Kazaa,
It's
yeah.
such a great word. And it isn't just some casual term. The text frames it as this explosive, dynamic concept.
It really does.
It's defined as the physical act of speaking and stepping out in faith. Like, it's not a timid whisper into the void,
No, not at all.
It's this bold, forceful deployment of belief right into the atmosphere.
Exactly. It's presented as a really assertive release. But we do have to be careful not to oversimplify the mechanism here.
What do you mean?
Well, this verbal release isn't just a one-and-done command. You don't just walk into the house, yell, "lights on," and then sit in silence for the rest of your life.
Right, right.
The source material intricately connects this voice activation directly to the practice of meditation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if I ask you, or honestly anyone listening right now, to picture the word meditation, a very specific image comes to mind, right?
Totally. Usually it's the modern Western interpretation.
Exactly.
Absolute silence, sitting cross-legged in a, minimalist room somewhere, emptying your mind of all thoughts.
Maybe a little incense burning?
Yeah, focusing purely on your breath, maybe with some ambient noise playing in the background.
Complete and utter stillness.
Right?
But this framework aggressively rejects that definition. It takes us way back to an ancient text, Psalms 1.2, and it completely re-engineers what meditation is supposed to look like when it comes to functional faith.
It really flips it on its head.
It does, and frankly, the process described here is not silent at all.
No, it is intensely active.
Yeah.
The material breaks down 4 ancient Hebrew words that are historically translated as meditate.
Right.
And examining their etymology completely shifts our understanding of this operating system.
So what's the first one?
The first word is haga, which means to mutter or murmur the word continually.
Muttering. So we are talking about a physical biofeedback loop here. You are literally walking around, talking to yourself, engaging your vocal cords and your own hearing simultaneously.
Precisely. It keeps the mind tethered to the concept. You can't drift off if you're actively speaking.
That makes a lot of sense. And the second word?
The second ancient word is swak, which translates to musing deeply.
Musing deeply.
Right. So it's not emptying the mind, it's filling it. It's this intense, focused contemplation on the actual mechanics of a promise.
Okay, I like that.
And then we move to the third word, melalau, which means to revolve truths constantly in your mind.
I love the visual of Melalau, revolving truths.
It's very descriptive.
It is. When I read that, I immediately thought of like a washing machine cycle
Oh, that's a good analogy.
or a revolving door at a busy hotel. You aren't just looking at a divine promise once and putting it on a shelf.
Right. You don't just admire it.
No, you are putting it in the machine and letting it spin. You are actively forcing that concept through your consciousness over and over until the repetition actually rewires your neural pathways.
What's fascinating here is how that repetition builds tension.
How so?
Because if the washing machine is melalau, then the fourth and final word, shaha, is basically the alarm letting you know the cycle has finished.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Shaha translates to crying out or declaring things aloud boldly.
So it builds up to a shout.
Exactly. So the complete mechanism of functional meditation moves in a progression. You start by muttering, which is haga.
Right.
You move into deep musing, suash. You revolve the truth repeatedly, melalau. And it eventually culminates in a bold, loud declaration, shaha.
It's a total paradigm shift. Like, none of those 4 ancient definitions involve clearing your mind at all.
Not a single one.
They are entirely about active vocal saturation.
And the underlying logic is that this loud, faith-filled meditation, physically and spiritually, transforms a person's reality.
It actually alters things.
Yeah, the framework suggests that by constantly speaking these promises, you are aligning your personal environment with the divine environment. You are effectively speaking a new reality into existence.
But, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Because there's a massive trap here. If you're listening to this and you stop the audio right now, you might think, fantastic, I've got the code.
Right, I figured it out.
I'm going to go stand in the middle of my living room, loudly declare my success. Using Shaha and my bank account, my health, and my life will just instantly transform.
Yeah, that's the danger of stopping halfway through the manual.
Exactly. Because the manuscript is brutally clear on this.
Yeah.
If you just speak, but you physically remain stationary, your faith is still classified as dormant.
Action is the mandatory secondary switch.
Mandatory.
Yeah. You need both the verbal command and the physical movement to complete the circuit.
The best way to conceptualize this, I think, is to think about those motion sensor sliding doors at the grocery store.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
can stand 10 feet away from those glass doors and just shout at them all day long.
Open up.
Right. You can confidently declare that the doors will open. You can mutter it. You can muse on it. You can revolve the truth of the doors opening in your mind.
You can shaha all you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But those doors are wired to a motion sensor. They do not care about your vocal commands at all.
They only respond to physical proximity.
Yes. You have to step out of your stationary position and physically walk toward the glass. And the moment you cross the threshold, the doors slide open.
That captures the second pillar of this text perfectly, which is moving out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
The system leans really heavily on the Book of James here. Specifically, the famous philosophical stance that faith without works is dead.
Dead. Not just weak, but dead.
Exactly. In this framework, claiming to believe a promise without physically moving toward it is the exact equivalent of standing 10 feet from those grocery store doors and expecting a result.
And the manuscript backs this up, right?
Mm.
With a whole rapid-fire list of historical biblical examples to prove this causality.
It does, a lot of them.
The argument is that miracles, or supernatural breakthroughs, they're inherently triggered by movement. They simply do not happen to stationary people.
Right, let's look at how the source material actually deconstructs those examples, because the why is very important here.
Let's do it.
First, it brings up the story of David deploying functional faith against Goliath.
Okay, classic story.
Right. And the psychological insight provided is that problems aren't designed to destroy you. They are opportunities waiting for a solver.
I love that perspective.
But David couldn't just declare victory from the sidelines. The text emphasizes that he had to physically run toward the giant.
He had to move.
Exactly. Then it examines the woman with the issue of blood from the Gospel of Mark.
Right, and we have to remember her cultural context. Bleeding made her ritually unclean.
Highly unclean.
So being in a dense crowd was not just a social faux pas. It was physically dangerous for her.
Exactly. She didn't stay in the safety of her home hoping for a remote healing. She literally pushed her way through a massive hostile crowd to touch Jesus.
The mechanism of her healing was triggered by the risk of her movement.
Yes, the risk is key.
The example that really illustrates the psychology of action for me, though, is the story of the 4 lepers from 2 Kings chapter 7.
Oh, that's a brilliant one.
It's so intense. They are sitting outside a besieged, starving city. They are slowly dying. And they finally look at each other and apply some cold, hard logic.
Why sit we here until we die?
Exactly. If they stay stationary, they have a 100% chance of starving. If they get up and walk into the enemy camp, well, they might get killed, but they might also find food.
Right. Movement offered a possibility.
But staying still offered certainty of death.
Mm-hmm.
The moment they physically walked toward the enemy, their breakthrough was catalyzed.
It's a perfect example. And the framework also highlights Peter walking on water in Matthew 14.
Oh, yeah.
The crucial detail the author isolates there is sequence.
The sequence of events.
Yeah. Peter had to physically step out of the boat before the water supported his weight.
Oh, wow. So the action precedes the buoyancy.
Exactly. It demands risk.
It really does.
The manuscript also quotes Psalms 107.24, which states that those who go down to the sea in ships are the ones who see the works of the Lord. So if you stay safely on the shore, you are insulated from the storms, sure, but you are also insulated from the wonders.
That's powerful.
The author basically synthesizes all these historical accounts into one absolute rule for this operating system. Comfort zones kill possibilities.
Comfort zones kill possibility.
Yeah. Greatness might be a divine idea, but the physical movement required to access it is entirely your responsibility.
Because God tests obedience through alternatives, right? And you just cannot experience supernatural possibilities while refusing to leave safety.
You can't. It's impossible in this framework.
Okay, so let's map out where we are in the manual right now.
Good idea.
We have the voice activation, loudly speaking and meditating on the promises.
Check.
We have the motion sensor stepping out of the comfort zone and taking physical action.
Check.
But this naturally leads to a massive friction point, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
Let's say you're listening to this, and you've followed the steps. You've spoken the words. You've stepped out of the boat. You're walking toward the automatic doors.
Doing everything right.
Right. But the doors haven't opened yet. The water under your feet is starting to look very choppy. The reality around you looks terrible, and the manifestation hasn't happened.
Yeah.
How do you keep the system running?
That gap, the space between taking the action and seeing the result, that is the breaking point where most systems fail.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the framework introduces a third pillar required to deploy functional faith.
The sustainer.
Yes,
Yeah.
maintaining a joyful spirit. But we really have to clarify how the source material defines joy here, because it is radically different from the modern psychological definition.
Very different.
It is not an emotion.
No, it's not about toxic positivity at all.
Right.
It's not about pasting a fake smile on your face and pretending you aren't in distress. The text classifies joy as a literal spiritual force.
A force, like gravity or electricity.
Exactly. In the mechanics of the system, joy is the battery. It is the sustaining fuel that keeps faith alive while you are waiting in that gap.
Viewing joy as a utility like a force rather than a feeling, it completely changes how you wield it.
It does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source uses several ancient scriptures to demonstrate how this energy source operates.
What does it point to?
It cites Isaiah 12.3, which talks about drawing water from the wells of salvation with joy.
So joy is the bucket.
Basically, yeah. It references Philippians 4.4, which commands believers to rejoice in the Lord always. And it also points to Nehemiah 8.10, stating that the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Strength. Fuel.
Exactly. In every instance, joy is the active energy required to draw out the result.
But I want to push back on this a little bit, because the ultimate example the manuscript provides seems completely counterintuitive to human nature.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It references the prophet Habakkuk, specifically chapter 3, verses 17 and 18.
Yeah, that's a heavy text.
It is. This text describes a literal worst-case scenario for an agrarian society. Habakkuk says, even if the fig tree doesn't blossom, even if the vines produce no fruit,
A total nightmare.
even if the fields yield zero food and the flocks are entirely wiped out, this is total unmitigated economic and agricultural collapse. Starvation is imminent.
Right.
And yet, what is his stated response to all of that?
He declares that he will still rejoice in the Lord. He will joy in the God of his salvation.
But doesn't that just sound like pure denial? I mean, a modern listener hears that and thinks your crops are dead, your economy has crashed, and you're celebrating. That's not functional faith. That's delusion.
It sounds like delusion on the surface, sure.
So how does this framework differentiate between joy and denial?
It differentiates them through the mechanism of timing.
Timing, okay.
According to the logic laid out in this text, functional faith mandates that you rejoice ahead of the manifestation.
Oh, wow.
That is the proof of the system. If you wait until the fields are full of food and your bank account is full of money to celebrate, well, you are no longer operating on faith.
You're operating on sight.
Exactly. Joy in this context is the ultimate proof that you genuinely believe the words you spoke back in step one.
So it's not ignoring the dead crops.
No, it's celebrating the conviction that the rain is coming, even while you are still standing in a drought.
Wow. So joy bridges the gap. It is the active proof of internal belief while you endure the delay.
Exactly. Without it, the system just loses power before the manifestation can arrive.
So for you listening right now, let's synthesize this entire operating manual. We began by establishing that this manuscript treats faith as a practical, mechanical system.
Right.
And we've now uncovered the three distinct gears that make it turn. First, your words must align with the covenant, which this text treats as the agreed-upon promises of the divine.
You activate the system by utilizing Haga and Shaha, muttering and shouting those promises aloud.
Yes. Second, your actions must align with obedience.
Yeah.
You have to physically move out of your comfort zone.
Because the motion sensor doors of the supernatural only respond to risk and proximity.
Exactly. And third, your spirit must deploy joy, not as a fleeting mood, but as a spiritual force to sustain the system before the visual evidence actually appears.
And the framework concludes that when all three of these operate in sequence, faith speaks, faith moves, faith rejoices, you are mechanically positioned for the manifestation.
It's brilliant.
But, this raises an important question.
What's that?
One that I think sits just beneath the surface of everything we've analyzed today. The text states unequivocally that comfort zones kill possibilities, right?
Yes.
And that progressing to new levels inherently requires facing opposition.
Yeah, that is a core rule of the framework.
So if we accept the logic of that rule, it frames our modern lifestyle in a very challenging, almost adversarial light.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Look at the culture we live in today. Our entire everyday pursuit is the optimization of convenience.
We crave safety.
Yes, we want a completely friction-free existence.
Yeah.
We want our groceries delivered straight to our doorsteps.
We want our climate perfectly regulated.
Our financial risks mitigated, our social interactions curated. We spend massive amounts of energy trying to eliminate risk from our lives.
We do.
But if comfort zones truly kill possibilities, then perhaps this modern pursuit of a perfectly insulated life is actually the greatest enemy to developing functional faith.
That is a deeply unsettling thought. By trying to build the perfect safety net, we might just be neutralizing our own potential.
It forces you to evaluate your environment. If you are constantly systematically insulating yourself from every possible risk, failure, or discomfort, are you accidentally insulating yourself from the supernatural?
Are you effectively unplugging the very machine you're trying to operate? That is a brilliant tension to leave unresolved.
It's a tough one.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive as we unpack the architecture of deploying functional faith.
It's been great.
As you navigate your week, whether you're standing in front of literal automatic doors at the grocery store or staring down a problem that feels like a giant, we really want you to keep that tension in mind.
Are you prioritizing the insulation of safety?
Or are you ready to speak the wake word, step into the risk, and see what happens? Ponder that, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.